I was declared dead at 11:42 p.m. And I remember being furious about it. Not scared, not peaceful, furious. Because for 62 years, I'd built my entire identity on the certainty that death was a simple equation. Brain activity stops, consciousness ends. Mathematics doesn't lie. And there I was. No heartbeat, no breath, no measurable brain function. Still thinking, still aware. Still absolutely, impossibly, rage-filled at the universe for proving me wrong. My name is Daniel Rothman, and until that October night, I was a mathematics professor at Portland State University. Not just any professor. I was the guy who had spent 4 decades using mathematical proofs to dismantle every spiritual claim students brought to my office. God? Show me the equation. Afterlife? Where's the empirical data? Soul. Define your terms with measurable variables. I had a reputation. Rothman the Razor, some called me. I'd slice through mystical thinking with pure logic, leave no room for faith or feeling or anything that couldn't be graphed on an axis. I loved it. The clarity, the certainty, the beautiful cold precision of numbers that never lied, never promised false comfort, never left room for the weakness of hope. My ex-wife used to say I treated human emotions like contaminated variables to be eliminated from the equation. She wasn't wrong. We divorced in 2004 after she started attending a Unitarian church. I couldn't respect someone who needed fairy tales. My daughter stopped calling around 2011, said talking to me felt like being cross-examined. My son invited me to his wedding but asked me not to speak. Too many family gatherings ruined by my helpful explanations of why their beliefs were mathematically impossible. I told myself I was doing them a favor, teaching them to think clearly, to see reality without the comforting fog of delusion. After all, I'd grown up drowning in that fog, raised by a mother who saw signs from God in everything, a father who believed prayer could cure his cancer. I watched him die when I was 19, watched my mother beg her invisible God for mercy that never came. That's when I made my choice. Mathematics over mystery, proof over prayer, clean equations over messy faith. 43 years of teaching, 86 published papers, 2 books on mathematical logic, a career built on dismantling the possibility of anything beyond the measurable. I was 62 years old, tenured, respected, and absolutely certain about the fundamental nature of reality. Then I bought a motorcycle. Midlife crisis, my daughter said when I told her. I preferred to think of it as statistical optimization, maximum enjoyment per remaining life year, calculated against accident probability, adjusted for my defensive driving skills. I'd ridden before. In graduate school, I knew the risks, I ran the numbers. Everything was accounted for. Except for Travis Hendricks, age 23, blood alcohol content 0.19, running a red light at the intersection of Burnside and 32nd at 11:27 p.m. on October 14th. I saw his truck for maybe half a second, headlights filling my peripheral vision. Not enough time to brake, not enough time to swerve, just enough time to think, this is going to hurt. And then, well, at least I'll finally know. The impact felt like being deleted. One moment I was upright, in control, following traffic laws. The next, I was airborne, separated from the bike, watching the pavement rush up with the strange detachment of someone observing a physics demonstration. My helmet hit first. I felt my neck compress, heard something crack that shouldn't crack. Then I was sliding, tumbling, my body making sounds bodies shouldn't make. I stopped moving, couldn't move, couldn't feel my legs, couldn't feel anything below my chest. I lay there on the asphalt, staring up at the streetlight, doing the calculation automatically. Cervical fracture, probable spinal transection, quadriplegia if I survive. The math was clear, the prognosis was not good. People gathered. I heard their voices, distant and distorted. Someone was crying. Someone else was on the phone with 911. I tried to tell them I was a professor, that I needed them to contact the university, that my class notes were on my office computer. But my mouth wouldn't work. My tongue felt thick and foreign. Then the pain started. Not from my body, from somewhere deeper. a crushing sensation in my chest that had nothing to do with impact trauma. The street light started to dim, not slowly. It flickered like a dying bulb, and with each flicker, I felt myself thinning, becoming less solid, less real. This is shock, I thought. This is oxygen deprivation. This is the cascade of system failures I've read about. Perfectly explainable, perfectly normal. My vision tunneled. The faces above me became shadows. Someone was doing CPR. I felt the compression on my sternum, but it seemed to be happening to someone else's body. The pain in my chest became absolute, overwhelming, and then nothing, not darkness. Darkness is something. This was absence, a void so complete it erased the possibility of anything. I wasn't unconscious. I was somehow aware of being nowhere, of being nothing, and it was terrifying in a way mathematics had never prepared me for. Then the void changed. It became something worse, a thickness, a pressure, like being buried alive in concrete that was aware of you, that noticed you, that was hungry. I felt myself falling, not down. There was no direction, just away, away from everything I'd ever known, away from light, from warmth, from any possibility of good. And I was utterly, completely alone, more alone than alone, separated from everything by an infinite distance that was growing with every non-moment. The terror was absolute, not fear of death, fear of this, of existing forever in isolation, of consciousness without connection, of being trapped in eternal separation from everything that made existence bearable. No equations to solve, no problems to analyze, no way to think myself out of this, just endless, crushing aloneness. And underneath it all, a knowing, a certainty worse than any I'd carried in life. I deserved this, not because of sins, I didn't believe in sin, but because of choices, because I'd spent 62 years building walls of logic to keep everyone out, because I'd chosen being right over being connected, because I'd made myself an island, and now the ocean was infinite, and I was drowning in my own isolation. I tried to scream, but I had no voice, tried to reach out, but I had no hands. I was just awareness, trapped, alone, forever. Then, a light, not metaphorical, not the tunnel everyone talks about, just a pinpoint in the infinite dark. And it was moving toward me, or I was moving toward it. The void resisted, pulled at me, wanted to keep me. But the light was stronger. It engulfed me, and suddenly I wasn't alone. There was a presence, a person, a being. I don't have the vocabulary. He was there, more real than anything I'd ever encountered in my carefully measured life. And he looked at me with eyes that saw everything, every equation I'd hidden behind, every person I'd pushed away, every moment I'd chosen certainty over compassion. I expected judgment, wanted it almost. It would have been cleaner, but what I got was worse. He was sad, sad for me, sad at the waste, sad at how much I'd missed while I was busy being right. "Daniel," he said, not out loud, directly into whatever I was. "Do you understand now?" And I did, all at once, like a proof revealing itself. I saw my life from outside, 62 years of brilliant isolation, students whose questions I'd demolished instead of explored, a wife who'd needed me to feel with her, not just think at her, children who'd wanted a father, not a lecturer, colleagues who'd stopped inviting me to lunch because I made everything an argument. I'd been so proud of my rationality, my resistance to emotional thinking, my refusal to accept anything without proof. But I'd missed the fundamental equation. Love can't be proven, only experienced. Connection can't be measured, only felt. Some truths exist in the living, not in the logic. I was wrong, I said, thought, communicated somehow. I was so wrong. Yes, he agreed. No satisfaction in it, just acknowledgement, but you can still choose differently. I'm dead, twice. Your heart stopped at 11:42, again at 11:56 in the ambulance. But death isn't an equation, Daniel. It's a door, and you can go back through it if you want to. Why would you let me, after after how I lived?" He smiled. And in that smile I saw something my mathematics had never accounted for. Grace, unearned, undeserved, incalculable. Because I've been trying to reach you for 62 years and you finally stopped calculating long enough to listen. I wanted to stay. The peace here was beyond anything, beyond fear, beyond isolation, beyond the exhausting work of maintaining certainty. But I thought about my daughter, my son, the students in my advanced calculus class who I'd never really seen as human beings, just as brains to fill with proofs. "I want to go back," I said. "Please, let me go back." The return was violence, like being shoved into a box 3 sizes too small. I slammed back into my body with force that made the motorcycle impact feel gentle. My chest exploded with pain. My lungs burned as they inflated. Every nerve ending shrieked. The paramedic above me was doing chest compressions, and each one felt like being crushed. But I was back in the measurable world, back in a body that hurt, back with a chance to live differently. I woke up 6 days later in OHSU hospital. Broken spine, shattered pelvis, traumatic brain injury. The neurologist said I'd died twice in the ambulance. Said I shouldn't be alive and definitely shouldn't be able to move my fingers, but there I was, wiggling them like it was a miracle. Maybe it was. Maybe my daughter was in the chair beside my bed. She'd been there for 3 days, the nurse told me later. When I opened my eyes, she started crying. I wanted to tell her about the equations I'd solved, the proofs I'd completed. Instead, I said, "I'm sorry for everything, for all of it." She took my hand, didn't say anything, just held on. Recovery took 9 months, physical therapy, learning to walk again, learning to write. But the harder work was learning to be human, to feel without immediately analyzing, to connect without constantly correcting, to admit I didn't know instead of pretending I knew everything. I went back to teaching in September. Same classroom, same subject, completely different professor. On the first day, a student raised her hand and said she believed God had helped her understand a particularly difficult proof. The old me would have dissected that claim surgically. The new me said, "Tell me more about that." We talked for 20 minutes after class about how beauty in mathematics might point to something beyond mathematics, about how order and elegance might be clues, not just coincidences. I didn't agree with everything she said, but I listened, really listened, and I saw her walk out feeling seen, valued, not demolished. My ex-wife and I have coffee now, once a month. We don't talk about getting back together. Too much water under that bridge, but we talk, really talk. She told me she'd been praying for me for 18 years. I told her, "It worked." She cried. My son invited me to meet his daughter, my granddaughter. She's 4. She asked me if I believe in heaven. I said, I believe in love, and I think love is bigger than anything I can measure. She seemed satisfied with that, hugged my neck, changed everything. I still teach mathematics, still love the clarity of numbers, the elegance of proofs. But now I see them as a language, not the only language. A way of describing reality, not reality itself. The equations still work. The logic still holds, but they're not enough. They never were. Because here's what I learned in that void, in that light, in that encounter I can't explain with any formula. We're more than our thoughts, more than our certainties, more than our carefully constructed logical frameworks. We're beings built for connection, and every wall we build to protect our certainty is a wall that keeps out love. I was dead, certified, declared twice, and I came back different. Not because I found religion, I'm still wrestling with what I believe about God, but because I finally understood what I'd been missing all along. The most important truths can't be proven, only lived. The deepest realities can't be measured, only experienced. And love, actual, vulnerable, illogical love, is the only equation that ever really mattered. I'm 63 now, I might have another decade, might have another day. But I'm done wasting time being right at the expense of being present. Done choosing certainty over compassion. Done building walls to protect a fortress that was really just a prison. The universe is more mysterious than my mathematics ever allowed for. Death is more real and more strange than my materialism ever admitted. And life is for loving, not just for understanding. That's what he showed me. That's what changed everything. And if I could go back and tell my 20-year-old self anything, watching his father die while his mother prayed to empty air, I'd say, your pain is real, but your certainty is armor. Your logic is beautiful, but it's not complete. Don't spend 60 years proving you're right. Spend them learning to love. Because in the end, and I've been to the end twice, love is the only thing that survives the equations, the only force that penetrates the void, the only truth that doesn't need proof. I was wrong about almost everything that mattered, and I'm grateful, impossibly, illogically grateful, that I got the chance to learn that before it was truly too late.